Well, it's Friday afternoon, everyone, and here we are on the FDR Drive, I think I am. I just got off on my way to the Hamptons, and don't worry, for those of you watching, my eyes are on the road, but since my phone is right in front of me, so I guess it looks like I'm looking at you guys. But we're going to talk a little bit of some short Torah before Shabbat. Obviously, I don't have the grill, and it's getting a little bit late, and I don't want to miss it. So, invite some of the people in here, and we're going to get started. All right, let's see who's in the house. You come in, say hello, let me know where you're coming in from. We got a lot to talk about. A little bit about how smart people do silly things. This week's Parshat is all about that. And I'm on my way. For those of you who don't know, I just got back from Florida. I was in Boca, I was in Hollywood. Last week I was in Woodmere and other areas around the New York City, and now I'm on my way to the Hamptons for Shabbat. Very, very excited about that. So we're gonna wait for some people. Hey Jane, how you doing? Grace is in the house. Aryeh, where am I right now? I'm on exit 2B to Webster Avenue. Where are you? Marvin, how you doing? So those of you watching, just to make sure you know, obviously I'm not in Israel right now, and therefore it's not Shabbat for me yet. And we're on our way to the West Hampton Beach, hoping for a very, very nice Shabbat there. Hey, Stephanie and Mark, what's going on? All right, so let's talk a little bit. This week's Parsha. Last week we read about the golden calf, the Chet HaEgel, and it's as if we have some kind of, it's like we have some kind of attraction to these kind of silly moves. So this week we have Korach v'adato, Korach, who challenges Moshe Rabbeinu, challenges Moses' leadership. And the question to ask is, it says, the Gemara talks about, and the Midrashim talk about, that Korach was one of the wisest people around. So, as a wise person, you got to be pretty stupid, right? I mean, what were you thinking? Unfortunately, I got no grill in the car, but that's a great idea. Ori, what's going on? By the way, those of you who are signing in, I'm in the States right now, and I'm speaking at a fundraising tour for Standing Together, and I don't know if you know me well enough or not, but I literally don't sleep when I'm not bringing the funds home to keep the soldiers going. That's really my goal here, and I'm really stressed out, but not stressed out for my job or anything else. Stressed out that I will not bring what I need to bring home for the soldiers to keep our campaigns going. So I really would appreciate everyone who's following me and listening to me. If you wouldn't mind going on the website and hitting that donate button right on the front page. It's www.stogether.org. That's S like standing, stogether.org. I can't put it up right here right now because I'm driving, but I really would appreciate after this video if you would go on there. If you can donate more or less. I want to tell you a little bit about the couple of programs that we're doing, and then I got to get off the phone because I got to focus on my instructions because I'm a blind bat in New York City right now. So we have some really cool programs going. And number one, we are renting 50 apartments, 50 apartments for 150 soldiers, lone soldiers in the IDF, and we're going to cover their costs next year, as well as have a whole base of so noisy in here. A whole base of volunteers to take care of everything they ever needed. And again, the cost apartments are the rent, so that's one of our campaigns going on. Number two is we're buying new trucks to be stationed in the north and the south. We need some donations for that. It's $180,000 for each truck. Number three, we're flying lone soldier parents in to Israel to their kids who are graduating the different stages of the IDF, and parents who can't afford it generally, we are flying them in to reunite them and their children as they graduate the IDF. It's an amazing experience. So we have a lot of things going on, and I really would love if everyone here would be able to, after I get off, to go on the website. It's www.stogether.org and do what you can. Alrighty. So Korach is challenging Moshe Rabbeinu. Like I said, the Gemara and the Midrash says that Korach was a smart man. So you got to be pretty silly or dumb or to challenge Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, what are you thinking? You lived through all the miracles. You lived through, everything you saw. Moshe Rabbeinu was in charge supernaturally. Why would you challenge his leadership? Thank you, Gracie. There's the link right there. Hey, Gary, what's going on? All right, so the what's interesting is, we think that, just last week I had an argument with someone about the Paris Agreement, the whole thing about global warming, and they were saying, all the experts are talking about that it's going to save the world, and you, Ari Fuld, know better. I said, no, I don't know better, but look at the facts. We're talking about 122, I think it was billion or milliard, I don't know what it was, billions of dollars to the end, that USA is putting into that Paris Agreement, and it's going to lower the temperature by 0.023 of a degree, I think. And it's a UN organization. So I said, it's not, sometimes experts are wrong. If I'm sick, I go to the doctor. That's true. But, we get second opinions often. And when it comes to Korach, he was too smart for himself. And what's interesting, his claim to Moshe Rabbeinu was not, hey, who put you in charge? Because he knew who put him in charge. His claim to Moshe Rabbeinu was, the whole nation is holy. Why are you over the congregation of God? The whole Jewish nation is holy. Why are you over the nation of God? Excuse me 1 second, people. I got to see where I'm going. All right, 6B, I'm getting out. All right. So the claim itself, it's a claim, right? We don't believe in Judaism in a pope. We don't believe in whatever they want to call any other religion, in Buddha. We don't believe in these things. There's no such thing as a leader that's holier than anyone else. In other words, the leader himself wasn't born holy. It's not that Moshe Rabbeinu was holy and that's it, or Avram was holy. No, every person is holy, right? And that's one of the reasons, by the way, that the world was not created that with a nation, the Jewish nation or this nation. No, and the world was not created, by the way. And Avram Avinu Abraham was not the first man, and Moshe Rabbeinu was not the first man. So the question is, why? Why that whole history of that pre-Torah, why does it exist? And the answer that Chazal, that the Jewish sages give, is Adam Harishon was born a single man for one very simple reason. Was created a single man. So that no man should ever think they're better than the next man. Man, woman, and child, obviously. In other words, it was by one man, so you can't say, that man was my father or your father. It was everyone's. And therefore, everyone is holy. So that's when it comes from Adam Harishon. But when it comes to God giving out instructions, right? You can't argue with 1 second, 6B. All right. You can't argue with what God wants. You can have your feelings, right? Korach says, I want to be in charge. That's very nice. You want to be in charge. And the funny thing is, he might even have the credentials to be a political or even a religious leader. But in terms of this, God chose Moshe Rabbeinu. So it's not about it's not about Moshe Rabbeinu, being condescending to the rest of the nation of Israel. Not at all. In fact, if you look at the history of Moshe Rabbeinu's leadership, it was constant trouble. I mean, constant trouble. You think a president doesn't have a life of his own. Can you imagine Moshe Rabbeinu in the desert? No less. In the desert. So his life was not a walk in the park. So it wasn't about pride. We know that it says about Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the most modest man alive. So it wasn't about pride. It wasn't about popularity, because Moshe Rabbeinu was not popular. We know that from the beginning, when he came to Egypt and told the nation of Israel, I'm taking you out, they wanted to stone him. So he wasn't popular. His family had no time. He wasn't making a lot of money from it. There was nothing there except for the job that God gave him. But with some people, when they see someone with authority who's taking charge and taking care of things, they're jealous of them. They want that authority. They don't understand what comes along with that, the trouble that comes along with that authority. They didn't get that. So what happened was, Korach was looking at the popular Moshe Rabbeinu. He's going to be the man in the Torah and this and that, but he didn't get the responsibility, and he wanted the power, but he didn't understand that, because the truth of the matter is, who would ever want to be in Moshe Rabbeinu's shoes? Even at the end of his days, in Moshe Rabbeinu's days, Moshe Rabbeinu was punished because of the nation of Israel. His one wish, his one dream, he never asked anything from God. He never asked anything. Not money, not fame, nothing. His one dream and request to come into the land of Israel was taken away from him. And in Sefer Dvarim, in Deuteronomy, he says, because he got angry at Bnei Israel, or the question what he did exactly, we'll get to there when we get to there, but because of Bnei Israel, because of all the misbehavior of us, of Bnei Israel, Moshe Rabbeinu lost his ultimate dream of coming to the land of Israel. So what is there to be jealous of? So it wasn't jealousy of his leadership. It wasn't jealousy of who he was as a spiritual man. It was jealousy of his role, of his leadership role. Korach wanted to be leadership. Who says you're leader? I want to be leader.
In 800 meters, exit right.
That's good to know, because I wouldn't have known that without it. So Korach basically wanted the power. He wanted the fame, because it all looks good from down there. And we know that Korach was a man who was wealthy and was smart. He had it all.
In 400 meters,
he had it all.
Exit right.
So the question is to be asked, if you got it all, what are you looking for? If you have it all, you have the money, you have the brains, what are you looking for? And, this comes to a very sad reality that suicide, for example, overdose, happens in the very wealthy, not all wealthy, God forbid, but it happens in the upper class, not in the lower class. Lower class suicides are very, very low. Give me 1 second. 1 second. We're back on, I hope. All right. So, suicide. So, you have these people who are sports stars or rock stars, and you see they're in depression. What else do you want? What are you looking for? And why does it happen? Why does it happen that upper class, the rate of suicide is much higher than the lower class? Why does that happen? Well, that happens because it's true that money can make your life much more comfortable. Absolutely. But it can't make you happy. Happiness does not have to do with power or with money. And people who are not wealthy, people who have nothing, and they get a meal, their happiness reaches levels that those of us who are fortunate enough to have meals, can't understand, right? A boy whose parents can't afford anything, and they spend every last dime to buy the kid a bicycle. The feeling of ecstasis, the feeling of ecstasy that this kid feels, the feeling of happiness, of joy that this kid feels from a bicycle is through the roof. Well, those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to afford bicycles are like, yeah, it's a bicycle, big deal. So the issue is people just don't understand that happiness is not connected to your physical being. Our physical things, the money and the cars and the apartments are important. They're tools, and they can make our lives comfortable. But if you're giving it, you're putting the money first, and you're putting your status first. In other words, if you look at someone who's not as wealthy, who's not as fortunate as you, and you look down upon them, you are in bad shape. You are in bad shape because you don't understand that your money, our money, and what we get in life is not who we are. And I say this to people all the time. You look at the most famous people in the world, take even, Steve Jobs, all right? Apple, right? How come he didn't have Apple on his how come he didn't have Apple on his tombstone? Creator of Apple. That's who he is. Because he understood, and people understand, that's not who he is. The money that he made while he was making a lot of money, the philanthropy that he did, that was who he was. That's who you want to be remembered for. And we have to keep an eye on the ball. And Chazal say that, if you ever, are weak and you don't know what to do, think of the day you die. It sounds depressing. It doesn't sound depressing because it puts you in check. What's really important in life? What are you running after Moshe Rabbeinu's status for? And by the way, Korach was a Levi. He had stature.
Heavy traffic reported.
He had status. He was a Levi. He was holding the vessels of the tabernacle, the holiest of the holies. But no, it wasn't good enough for him. He wanted more because the status of being more in charge, of being more wealthy, that's what he was running after. And I think at the end of the day, the punishment for Korach was the ground opened up and swallowed his whole. Everyone who rebelled with him, swallowed them up. What is that punishment? So obviously we're all buried in the ground, and the point is to show that what you have in this life is just for this life. It's for use in this life. It's not. You're not going to take it with you. Famous story of I can't remember the name of the family, and if you'll hear the story, anyone remembers, please let me remind me who it is. Very wealthy family, famous, and the father was about to pass away. He wrote a will and he wrote a letter, and when he passed away, they took the envelope and they said, do not open this envelope till right before I'm buried. And the other envelope they opened up, the other envelope said, I want to be buried in my socks. And I've told the story before, and in Judaism, you're not buried in anything. You're buried in a shawl, because to show you're not taking anything to the next world. And the family wanted to be buried in their socks, and the rabbi said, no, you can't be buried in anything. And at the end, they buried him without his socks on. And then they opened up the second letter, and he said to his children, look, children, I made a lot of money in this world, but at the end of the day, I couldn't even be buried with my socks. And again, the goal is you got to keep your eye on the ball. Like, I'm going fundraising. I can't stand fundraising. I hate it. I hate it because I don't like it. I'm using the funds for really saying thank you to soldiers and really giving them appreciation. That's what I'm doing. That's the value. And when I go to people, I say, listen, I'm asking you to donate money. They say I'm busy and this and that. I understand it. I have nothing. I'm not angry. I really am never angry at anyone who says, no, it's fine. Rothschild, thank you. Thank you, Ori. But the point is, it's not. The money is a tool. In other words, I say to people all the time, I say when people ask me, and they, I say to them, look, what do you want your children to remember? You want to remember that you made $50 billion, which is important, and keep your life comfortable and your family comfortable. There's no commandment to live poorly. But what do you want to be remembered for? Certainly, I hope that there's no one in this world who wants to be remembered for their money. They want to remember what they did with their money. Right? Even the secret things they did, and that's what it is. And that's where Korach made a mistake. Originally, the Chet HaEgel, and I'm going to hang up after this, the Chet HaEgel was, the Jews gave gold and silver to make a god, right? An idol. They made a mistake. They thought they were doing something good. Now it's the other case. Now someone took their gold, didn't make an idol out of it, didn't make an idol out of their gold, they turned their gold into the idol. In other words, there was no shape and there was no form. Korach turned his power and his money into the idol. And that was the mistake that he made. So we can learn from this week's parsha is, first of all, be happy with what you have. Really be happy. Appreciate what you have. Really be happy. You wake up in the morning, you take a breath, say, thank God I'm breathing. And I say this to my students all the time. If you want to feel more appreciative for life, go do kindness. Go to the hospitals. Visit the oncology ward. Visit the cancer wards. Visit the wards where people that can't eat or drink or go to the bathroom. And next time you eat and drink, go to the bathroom, you'll understand what we're making a blessing about. And again, it's all about appreciating life. We say, Ezu asher hasamech b'chelko. Who is a rich person? A person who is happy with what he has. And again, it's always good to be comfortable. Nothing's wrong with being very comfortable and very wealthy. And I give all of you a blessing, all of us a blessing that we should be very, very wealthy and not worry about anything in life. But again, never lose focus on what that money is for and what you're doing and how we should be living that life. All right, people, that's about it. I got to get my eyes back on the road before I get lost and end up I don't know where. So I'm wishing everyone a beautiful and a wonderful spiritual weekend. A Shabbat Shalom from, I'll be in the Hamptons soon. And again, I'm asking everyone, please, the link that people did post up above. I'm asking everyone, we have around $2 million budget this year, which we have to cover, I have to cover. So I'm asking everyone to please, if you can, the link's above. If anyone could please post the link again now, it would be great. Hit the link, do what you can, a lot, a little. The money's going to good things, so I am asking everyone to please do what you can. Wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom from New York City. Have an awesome weekend, everyone. Hasta la vista.